All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Cardon Ellis Show, How to Make It in Hollywood. We have a special guest with us today, none other than Matt Ferguson, who happens to be, if I'm saying this correctly, Jimmy Kimmel's camera guy / DP, do a bunch of work for HGTV. You're like, shall I say...
These are all true.
Yeah, a cameraman extraordinaire. Does that work?
Yeah, I'm a director of photography and I'm a camera operator.
Okay, cool.
Back and forth.
All right, rock on. So you've got the dream job that tons of kids go to film school for and wish they could become.
One of them, you bet. There's lots of those, but yeah, it's one of them for sure.
Rock on. So
living the dream.
Yeah, sweet. That's actually, you got a much better attitude. You'd be surprised how many people come into my studio like, Hollywood sucks.
Don't get me wrong. Hollywood's a terrible place to work. If you don't love it, you should not do it.
Oh, that's funny. Well, actually, I believe so. I know exactly what you're talking about.
It's tough.
However, really fast, just introduce yourself and give us a little background and a little portfolio here so our listeners know exactly, what you've accomplished.
Oh, boy, what have I accomplished?
Who they're dealing with.
It doesn't seem like I've accomplished much, but I guess to others that were listening, maybe they think so. I've been a director of photography for about 15 years, camera operating for about 17 or 18. I do a lot of, I work on the Jimmy Kimmel Show. I shoot a lot of field shoots for Jimmy Kimmel Live, doing the comedy bits. And
cool.
Then I do, I've worked on Dr. Phil shooting, it's all mostly field stuff for that kind of stuff. So if a guest comes in, they tell their story, we listen to it, and then we go out and we shoot some B-roll, some video to cover it up and everything.
Okay.
I've been director of photography for 5 or 6 different series. I did a show called Carter Can on Home and Garden TV for about 2 years. I did a show on, the TV Guide Network in 2006 called Ready, Set, Change. No one will know what that one is. Yeah. But we used to, it was a design show, and they used to come in and the person would say, I want my house to look like I Dream of Jeannie. And so they'd make a room like I Dream of Jeannie, which didn't make any sense because nobody knows what I Dream of Jeannie even looks like.
Yeah.
So they would make this TV, this room.
I beg to differ. I watched Nick at Night as a kid. Okay.
I mean, so did I, but they would end up putting like silk draped from the walls and things. Anyways, it was a heck of a show. I had a good time on it.
By the way, side note here, and this is something that only happens in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
But for my other business, I got a customer who is the daughter of the star of I Dream of Jeannie.
Wow.
And now she's a television director. And so it's funny is I had to go back and revisit I Dream of Jeannie.
No kidding.
And watch a couple of episodes again. Just
only
be like,
in Los
oh
Angeles,
my gosh,
man.
that's so-and-so's mom. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, only in Los Angeles. So yeah, I've
Only in
actually
LA.
multiple times now in the past 2 decades watched that obscure, I shouldn't say obscure because it was very popular.
It was huge, and she never had a belly button because it was obscene.
Yeah. Oh,
obviously.
my gosh. I never realized that.
Yeah. Go back and watch the episodes. They're obscene.
Okay, so 2 questions. First off, how does one become a director of photography? Okay. And also, I've always thought that title, director of photography, was so strange.
Very pretentious.
Yeah. Well, it's motion picture,
Sure.
not, straight up photography. So I've always felt like that was a strange misnomer.
Sure.
And then second off, you mentioned freelance earlier.
Oh, yeah.
And I'd love to dive into what you think are the pros and cons of freelancing versus kind of other forms of employment, so on and so forth. So what on earth made you want to be a DP, a.k.a. director of photography?
I didn't want to be a DP. I didn't want to be anything like that. I wanted to be a video editor. I wanted to be the editor.
Really?
That's what I started doing was editing when I first started.
Oh, and wow. Okay.
Wait,
hold on a second.
Yeah.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but
yeah, that's all right.
I had a friend.
Interrupt away.
I asked a friend if he wanted to help come DP a thing, and he actually, to do a small project I was involved in. And he actually told me, he said, you know what? I would love to, and I'm competent enough to do it. But, DP is the second job in Hollywood that people would give an arm and a leg to become.
It's a big job.
Yeah.
Especially on a film. Yeah.
Yeah. He said, besides director, it's probably the job that most people would die for. So I'd rather refer a friend who would die for that chance to DP
Oh, really?
your small project. Yeah. So I had actually a friend very
Wow.
nobly turn down a gig simply because he said, you know what, I'm trying to become a director and I could do this job and I love the project, but I have enough friends that would die to just add this to your resume.
You know what?
That I'd like to give them the opportunity.
So
this is your plan B. You don't plan B into the second dream job of Hollywood, dude. Explain that away, man.
Well, editing is a lonely job. And I was a 19, 20-year-old kid. And I fell into this job as an assistant editor that worked up into editor in this small company that I was on staff at. And they needed a person to run their equipment room. So I ran their equipment room while between jobs of editing. So I would be in the editing booth next to the equipment room. I'd edit, and then someone would say, "Oh, we got a shoot tomorrow. Would you get the stuff ready, the equipment ready?" So I'd go get the equipment ready, and then so I got familiar with all the DPs and operators that would come through, and somehow that turned into me going out into the field and assisting them and shooting things around the office because I was familiar with the camera. I had the keys. Jingle jangle keys.
Yeah.
I had the keys to the equipment room, so they'd say, "Oh, can you go get the camera and go shoot this small insert of this for this TV show?" So I'd shoot, fake money lighting on fire, $100 bills on fire. I remember shooting that. We shot somebody playing Twister. So I would do that kind of stuff, and I found myself more and more wanting to be involved in the camera side of it than the editing side of it because I liked actually interacting with people. I like to say I don't like people. But in reality, I do like people. I like talking to people. I like interacting. And when you're a video editor, you sit in a room by yourself for a long time, and the producer's behind you every now and then telling you what they'd like. And, it just wasn't for me. It was lonely.
It was a lonely
I found
road,
myself going out and talking to the post-production coordinator across the hall who was kind of cute every now and then. I talked to her way too much. I never got in trouble. But the boss man would come down and be like, "Matt Ferguson, are you talking to her again?" And I'd say, "Yes, I am. I'll get back to work."
Oh, dude, that is too awesome. That is too awesome. So you just reminded me when I was a Universal Studios tour guide.
You were.
Yeah, I was the goofy guy that was like, "Again to your left.
Everybody, come on now."
See there, and then Jaws would come out.
Yeah, wave to the people over there.
You know what I'm saying? I was kind of a history junkie, though. And what's funny is I did the English and the Spanish tours.
See.
And yeah, the Spanish tours were a riot because, well, first off, not just because, Latinos are pretty jovial and fun.
Yeah, they're a good time.
It's a big fat fiesta when you got a whole, like 300 people from Latin
Party
America.
time on the bus, you bet. Tram.
The big advantage and why it was more fun is because they'll all laugh at your jokes. On the English tours, you would get people from 15 different languages. You'd get Indian people where maybe English was the second language they learned in school. So like the nuances are just not there. And then, oftentimes when it was a lack of a German tour or maybe the Japanese tour, people would take the English tours because there was an English tour every 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Whereas you have to wait around for the foreign language tour. So like you would hit a joke out of the ballpark, right? And it would just be like falling on deaf ears on the English tour. But on the Spanish tour, you just make a funny face into the camera. And I was crushing
it, man.
Oh, dude, it's like being a pop star in Japan. You know what I'm saying? Like
absolutely.
It was so fun. So anyway,
I love it.
That was a segue of a segue. But when I was a Universal Studios tour guide, one of the blessings of being a tour guide is all of the ex-tour guides that have gone into other aspects of the entertainment industry.
Sure.
They come back and they give seminars on, how to succeed, how to this, how to that. And one of them was a guy that was in charge of casting for New Line Cinema.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And he used to be a tram guide, huh?
Yeah, he used to be a tour guide.
A lot of guys come up from there.
And he said something interesting. He said, "Your spot in Hollywood finds you. You do not find it."
Yeah.
And so
There's probably a lot of truth to that.
Yeah. So you're the only guy I've ever met. You know how they say you can only fail upwards? You know what I'm saying?
I have failed.
You're the only guy I know that's
smokes.
my plan B was being the second most desired job in Hollywood behind director.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
So then, two things. What's the craziest thing you've ever filmed? And then we'll go back to that freelance question.
Wow, the craziest thing.
What is the craziest thing you've ever filmed?
How about the craziest thing that's ever happened while I was shooting something?
That will suffice.
My favorite thing that ever happened, and some people may not remember who this guy is, but if you remember who Tom Green was back in the late 90s.
He's living in a van now.
Dude, he's living in a van doing podcasts out of his van with solar tubes or something.
Yeah.
Anyways, he was the comedy king of MTV, and he,
He's the one that inspired Joe Rogan to start his podcast.
Oh, him and Rogan are buddies.
Yeah.
Yeah. And oh man, I got to look this up first. So I was doing a shoot for TV Guide on this woman whose name is Heidi Klum.
Oh, how do you forget that?
I don't
look
know.
Up
Every
Heidi
time I do it,
I don't think there was a dude in junior high that didn't have a crush on Heidi Klum.
Was married to Seal. Anyways, Heidi Klum. So we're at a book signing. Heidi Klum made this book about something, her body. I don't know what it was. And we're at a Barnes & Noble. And all of a sudden, we're in line. We're videotaping people standing in line. It was a very boring shoot. Heidi Klum was exciting about it, but everything else was boring.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, Tom Green walks in with a box of his own books and a card table, and he sets up at this Barnes & Noble where Heidi Klum was doing a book signing, sets up next to her his own table, totally unplanned, and totally bombed her book signing. And to me, I think I was 21 years old, and I was like...
Wait, was this purposeful? It had to have been a comedy thing.
Oh, it was just him being Tom Green. It was a comedy thing, but nobody was there he didn't have his own crew to videotape it. He had nothing. He just was there to sell his book. He had a book called Hollywood Gives You Cancer. The poor guy had got testicular cancer and lost 1 or 2 testicles. I'm not sure how many, but he wrote a book about it, and it was a comedy book, and he came in and just totally jumped into her parade, and it was, to me, it was the funniest thing I've ever seen. That he jumped into her book signing, and Barnes & Noble brought stanchions, and they're like, oh, we'll bring over some more of Tom's books. Let's get Tom to sign something too. And, and the line kind of shifted over a little bit. Heidi Klum's like, hi, Tom, how are you? She's got this cute little English accent or whatever she is. Hi, Tom, how are you? Good to see you. And he's like, good to see you. It was strange. But that's one of the most awesome.
That
to me personally, it was amazing.
Guts. That takes total guts.
If you know anything about Tom Green, that's what he did anyways. He just did that kind of stuff all the time.
And
for
so,
his TV
wow,
show.
It's interesting.
That was like 2005 or 6.
Yeah, so you've been doing a lot of comedy. Now you're doing Jimmy Kimmel stuff.
Yeah, I do Jimmy Kimmel field shoots. They got some funny writers over there. They do some funny stuff. I don't know.
So then this is my only other question is, okay, so you freelance it. I mean...
It's the name of the game, freelance.
Yeah, well, okay, so you've been that way for a while. So obviously you prefer it over some kind of, I don't want to say corporate gig, but some kind of more...
Yeah, there's a certain amount of freedom with freelance and terrifying opportunities that don't come your way because you are freelance. I don't know. Freelance is a weird thing. In Hollywood, you always typically work from show to show. I would say 90 to 95% of Hollywood works from show to show. They're not at a certain company, at least on the crew size.
Roles.
The technical side. You're moving from show to show. Like I get, I probably work on 12 to 15 different shows every year, and it's all freelance. So I have no stability, and the only reason I keep getting jobs is people that I know and people that know me, and making phone calls or text messages. I'm not sure what's the best way anymore to make phone calls or text messages, because some people don't want to pick up phone calls, and text messages is about all you can do. Say, hey, what's going on? How are you?
Wow. So
freelance is it's scary. It's a scary
so
business
what
in
are the pros and cons of going freelance instead of trying to get maybe some kind of...
Right. Pros of freelance is the world's your oyster. There's opportunity to do anything and everything, from being at a F-150 racetrack on down at Long Beach shooting cars running by, to working for a Home and Garden TV show the next week and being at a sewage plant interviewing somebody about their job that's going to have their house redone. So the amazing thing is with freelance work is the variety of work that you get to do is astounding. Where I know people that are like, I'm not on staff at Jimmy Kimmel Live. They have 2 staff crews that shoot their field stuff, and they shoot a wide variety of stuff on the show, but they go to this one place every day, and they know they go there at 10 a.m., 10:30. They leave at 5:30. It's a union job. They get health insurance. The more I talk about this, the more I think I want to be on staff. But staff jobs are hard to come by. They really are.
Is that more of a cultural shift that you've noticed over the past couple of years? Because you're not the first person that said that.
Where they'll go to staff, where staff positions happen?
No, where they don't happen. Where it's a lot more piecemeal now. A lot of people are talking about. Well, also you totally spawned another question.
Yeah.
That I'm sorry, we
Oh,
always have
boy.
all these segues on segues here. But what's the most dangerous thing you filmed? Before I finish asking you these other questions,
It's actually out here in Santa Clarita. It was exciting.
Really, what was it?
Some show. Did you have something else to go on? We had some show going on. It was for the Weather Channel. I don't know why the Weather Channel was making a TV show, but it was like dangerous weather patterns. And we had something about cars going off of cliffs. And so we shot it over in Canyon Country, over by where the oil wells are. And we were on this property. And the idea was this car was going to get pulled down the mountain, and our safety expert slash special effects guy, he hooked up the wire that's supposed to detach from the car the wrong way, and so when he detached it from the car, the wire just came like it was, I don't know, I can't remember how it was hooked up. It was on a rock or something. But the wire just came whipping by, and I have, when you're shooting video camera on one of these things, your eye is in a viewfinder. You're aware of what's going on around you, but you don't.
Yeah, it's like an alternate reality.
It's an alternate reality. You are separated from what is happening around you quite a bit, even though you're trying to be aware of everything going on. But apparently this cable came and whipped about 6 inches from my neck or my head or something, and the director, everybody was like, whoa, stop. That was crazy. We had a big safety meeting, and he was like, you almost died. What the heck were you thinking setting that up like that? And he's like, oh, I don't know.
Whoa.
That was pretty scary, but I wasn't aware of it.
So you were almost like in the sequel of Final Destination.
No, it was Final Destination 8?
Yeah.
8? How many are there of that movie?
Dude, I don't know.
I've only seen one.
But my buddy was telling me he works on the Taken franchises with Liam Neeson, and even though Liam Neeson can't do any of his stunts anymore,
Right.
and they have to build doors big enough for him because he's like 6'5" and a half, and he's pumping his 70s. They keep
Right.
apparently making the Taken franchise because it's so popular and profitable in China.
Wow.
That they know all they got to do is dump like 30 or 40 million into or maybe 50 or 60 million into a Taken franchise, and they'll keep making them and
coming
making
back.
them. So
China.
just off Taken.
China.
They love Liam Neeson out there, but ironically, Brad Pitt has been blacklisted from China.
Well, yeah, because of his Tibet movie.
Yeah,
7
yeah.
years in Tibet. They're not going to stand for that.
Yeah,
you kidding me?
I never saw it. I don't know what the political controversy is, but
Well, Tibet
is that in Taiwan, and that's one of the unnameable?
Because
I know
it's something
that,
like that. Yeah, China.
Because they
like,
made Tom Cruise take off the Taiwan patch on his Top Gun remake.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, and we're always bending the knee to China now, apparently in Hollywood.
Yeah.
but,
My wife told me not to make this political, but hey.
Yeah. That's funny.
Wow.
That's the other wild thing that I've totally noticed. You know what I'm saying? Is how much it's odd to me what gets outlawed. Like, for heaven's sakes, they outlawed Winnie the Pooh because apparently somebody said that Xi Jinping looks like Winnie the Pooh.
And he does.
Yeah,
and he does.
You can't watch Winnie the
does.
Pooh. You
wouldn't want to let that out there.
So anyway, I got another question for you about I usually do this in second block, but I don't want to say this could go long, but
okay.
it might be an in-depth question that you're gonna have to answer on the other side of a commercial break.
Sure,
but
let me think about it. I like it.
The preparation that goes into being a cinematographer, okay, or a director of photography, like you say. How does a young listener who's excited, who is watching this guy named Matt Ferguson, that apparently you said they call you Fergie on set? What do they call you?
It ranges from Fergie, Ferguson.
Okay, cool.
There's so many Matts on set.
You just have to make sure the Black Eyed Peas aren't within
oh man, yeah,
aren't within earshot, or else
Stacey Ferguson.
Yeah. So anyway,
she's a nice woman actually. She's a kind of lady, like when you're going through a red carpet, she stops at every single person on the carpet and talks to them.
Oh really?
And some people just blow by, but she's awesome.
I didn't realize her first name's Stacy.
Stacy.
Okay, I didn't realize you were on a first name basis, Doug.
Well, we're not, but I'd like to think we have the same last name, so I can do that, but it hasn't happened.
Yeah, it hasn't happened yet. Well, so how does one prepare for this kind of thing? I mean, you actually, we both kind of grew up in that whole 70s, 80s, 90s time period where your parents drilled into your head that you got to go to college. You know what I'm saying? However, I can't tell you how many people I've met in Hollywood that ironically say, I wish I never would have gone. I wish I would have just I had a producer that said, I wish I never would have gone to film school. I wish I would have just taken the money from the student loans and simply produced my first film.
Yeah, that's what Kevin Smith did with Clerks.
Really? He just boosted student loan money?
No, I don't know if he did the student loans, but he went for a little bit to film school, and he went, I could just take the rest of the money and go make a movie, and he went and made Clerks. So.
Oh, well, okay. Well, I guess it worked for him. You know what I'm saying? So how does one prepare this? Because, like, for example, I went to film school, but they always cop out and tell you that, they always cop out. And actually got kicked out of film school, I should say. It was a very conservative university, Brigham Young University.
Copy.
You know what I'm saying? I technically got kicked out. But anyway, I went down to Universal, though, and I got a job instead. And I'm the only guy in my graduating class that did, And
right.
So, and also, I mean, here I am on the radio and I'm talking with you. I'd like to consider that a minor success. You know what I'm saying? So, I can't tell you how many people, this college question keeps coming up because some people have said going to USC Film School is the very best thing I ever did for the networking reasons. It was probably the best networking experience I ever had. But cinematography, it's like the word cinematography, correct me if I'm wrong, comes from the Greeks saying painting with light.
Sure.
Is where cinematography comes from.
That's probably accurate. I'll believe you.
And I've kind of always thought that these are almost more like trades, like plumbing and service trades, a lot of these film gigs that you get. So what kind of preparation would you recommend that a kid just walk into a place and start sweeping the floors like Richard Rich did at Disney? And next thing you know, he's making the Swan Princess because he started in the mailroom, literally like sweeping floors in the mailroom. Do you think that old school way of doing it, like they did in the 20s and 30s and 40s, is better? Do you think apprenticeships? Do you think lynda.com? Like, what do you think?
Being a DP or a camera operator, there's so much on the job learning that you do, and even to this day, I learn things every day that I'm working on it. Do you go to film school to do it? I can't tell you what to do on that because it is a lot of money. It is a lot of time. You can get good connections from that. I don't know. I'm not in touch with any of the people from my school. That's probably because I'm not very good at staying connected with people. I'm still working on getting better at it 20 years later.
Yeah.
But I don't know there's no right way to do it. Most people that I know that do it, that didn't go to film school, they get a job. They know somebody. That's one of the terrible things about this business. They know somebody who gets their name to them. I mean, even my story, how I got my first, it's just camera operator job outside of my staff job that I had when I first got here. My staff job, I'd been there for 2 years. It was just after 9/11. They let everybody go, and I was like, what am I going to do? I don't know. I'm a 21-year-old kid. I don't know. I got a wife, got a 2-year-old. And at the time, the best way to contact people was send out resumes on a fax machine. That's how old I am. So there was a book called LA 411, and they had every production company listed in this thing, and I would send out faxes. And I sent out a fax to, sent out faxes all day, and somebody called me to come work the next day as an AC, an assistant camera operator. And I got working with this guy. His name's Octay. He's a great guy.
Okay, hold on. I'm going to interrupt you for a brief
Commercial break.
No, this is actually a commercial break, and this is good. The audience is going to have to stay.
Yeah, this is a story.
And listen, I've never heard somebody that got jobs off of mass faxing.
Mass fax.
That's pretty interesting.
Faxing.
Okay, for those of you that are just tuning in, this is the Cardon Ellis Show with a special segment, How to Make It in Hollywood. And we are interviewing Matt Ferguson, also known as Fergie on set, who's a cameraman for a million different shows that you've watched and seen, also known as the camera operator and on other productions, the cinematographer or director of photography. So this is the Cardon Ellis Show, How to Make It in Hollywood. We'll be back after these short commercial messages. Welcome back to the Cardon Ellis Show. We are here in studio with Matt Ferguson for a special series called How to Make It in Hollywood. And Matt Ferguson is a director of photography and a camera operator for all kinds of really cool shows. Everything from HGTV to Jimmy Kimmel to all kinds of crazy stuff. And we're talking about really the title of the show, How to Make It in Hollywood, and how he got here to where he is, and how any other aspiring cinematographers and or directors of photography can get to where they want to go. And his path actually seems very unorthodox in the sense that you mentioned something before our commercial break about mass faxing to get a job.
Yeah,
but
back
also,
in my day.
Yeah, also very orthodox in the sense that so many people that I interview say there is no correct way. So many of them, like more people eschew the idea of there being a correct way than that there is anything relatively formulaic. So keep going. You lost a staff job and you just decided you would fax a bunch of people. Go.
Yep. I made a resume and I faxed resumes out to every production company in the book that we had. I got a call from a buddy or from who's now been a friend, and he needed an assistant camera operator the next day. And so I went in, I just started kind of working every now and then with him. And so I worked with this guy, Octay Ortabasi, who's a good man. Haven't talked to him for a little while, but there you go.
Yeah, if you're out there, Octay.
I should. Yeah. And, he was doing work for this show company called Pytown that did a lot of HGTV stuff. And someone from my previous staff job got connected with someone else at Pytown, so I asked him to give me a number to talk to the production manager at Pytown, and I called the Pytown Productions, and I had given them my resume. She called me in to talk to her, and she said, "Well, nice meeting you. I like your resume. I like your reel. I had a reel all set, which was good. They watched my reel. It was a terrible reel. Yeah. Reels are the worst thing to make, anyways. In general, it's so hard to get footage, but okay. I digress. So she said, why don't you call me about every week or two on Monday, and we'll see if there's anything going on." So I went home and I was like, okay, that maybe we'll get something. But I called every week, talked to her every week on Monday, and she'd say, "Hey, hi Matt, good to talk to you. Thanks for calling. There's nothing really going on right now." That happened for about 2-3 months. And meanwhile, I was working with Octay, who I had sent faxes out to, and he had just picked it up. And I mentioned to him that I had gone in and talked to Sam at Pytown, and he goes, well, next time you call her, just mention my name, because I work for them. I've done quite a bit of work for them. Just mention my name." So I said, "I will. Thank you. Sounds great. Thanks, Octay." And so I called that next Monday, and she said, "Hey, Matt, how are you?" And I said, "I'm good. Anything going on?" And she said, "Not really, but call back next week." And I go, "Well, I will absolutely, but I've got something." I was just working with Octay, and he just wanted me to call and mention his name, and said I'd be a great addition to the team. And there was silence. And she said, "You know what? What are you? It's Monday. What are you doing Wednesday?" And that's how I got my first job as a camera operator outside of my staff job. And from there, I worked for that company for 5 years. 5, 6, 7, 22 days a week for almost 5 years.
Really?
And all because of someone I knew helping me get in. And I mean, the whole business, it's a rat race, and it's all about who you know, and it all interrelates.
Okay, so
it's crazy.
Yes, you're right. It's not what you know, but who you know. However,
it can be, and we all fake our job. And I've heard that said in this very studio before. We all fake our job.
Well, okay,
and we never really learn it. We just all fake it until we get there. We know the general idea, but especially with what I do with, I do a lot of reality TV and a lot of competition reality and talk show stuff. I'll show up in the morning and not have any idea what we're shooting that whole day. Like today, I worked on a show called, I'm not going to say the name, but it's a home and garden TV show. And I know the gist. We're going to go to this house. They're going to look around, and we're going to do a redesign on it and talk about it. But I don't know what the house looks like. I don't know where the light's coming from. I don't know what door they've taken out. So every morning, you have to come in and reinvent, I guess, the wheel and see what this room would look best like, how you want this room to look.
Yeah, and actually, there's two really interesting things I have to interject here.
Yeah.
You're the first person I've had that's been a guest on my show that has come in and then just instinctually started rearranging the lighting. If anybody who's watching the visual podcast that accompanies the radio broadcast of this. If you're watching the video element that exists on the 98.1 FM's, no, but it looks great, man. It looks better than what I did.
You know?
And I thought I was pretty good for the digital realm.
And it was good. And here's the trick. There's no right way to do anything, especially as a director of photography. There's no right way to light anything. It's all subjected to what you're doing, what the subject matter is, and who's doing it.
Okay, so now, so
I just wanted to come in and I just want a different look for me. That's all.
Yeah, so I've had some cinematography basics, a 3-point lighting, edgy lighting, Rembrandt lighting, butterfly lighting, glamour lighting, so on and so forth. Anybody that's into photography is going to be familiar with these terms.
Sure.
But and I do believe in the whole, you have to fake it till you make it, that perseverance and grit is going to be more important than any individual skill set. However, just like a gladiator is going to have to improvise a lot of the battle, he's got to have a sword and he's got to have some really good basics down.
Absolutely.
And I interviewed Michael Bay's sound guy. It was awesome. A guy by the name of Joel Erickson.
Oh, yeah.
Who had told me something very interesting, that if you want to get into the sound business, he said the best thing you can do, better than any kind of resume, better than any kind of college degree sitting on a plaque behind you, he said, is to take a scene from your favorite movie and just completely take out all of the sound.
That's great advice.
Yeah, just take out all of the sound and then recreate all the sound in that 10-minute scene or that 5-minute scene.
From scratch.
Yeah. And then just send that to whatever sound company you want to work for. And if it's good enough, they'll look at it and say, holy crap, we want this guy.
This guy knows what he's doing.
Yeah, so is there anything like that for any aspiring film school kids or any kind of aspiring DPs or cinematographers, is there any kind of make a scene from scratch and redo the sound like Joel Erickson said? Is there anything comparable to that in the director of photography world? Because don't forget, that's the second job people would fall on their sword for. All right.
That makes me feel real good because, sometimes I just feel like I'm some schmuck that's just falling into this.
If your wife is ever giving her flack, just play those last 30 seconds on repeat. You know what I'm saying? Just be like, do you know who I am? I am the second.
I am Matt Ferguson.
Yeah. So is there anything that is...
There is. It's hard to do a scene like that because you have to have actors and people. So it's hard to set up anything like that and for people to let you play around with that kind of thing, and then you have to have lights as well.
Yeah.
It gets really difficult. I think that...
How do you showcase your talent is another way of saying it. Like how do you showcase your talent? It would have to be just a basic reel, right? But
basic reel, and it's just somebody giving you the chance at the right place, right time. And a lot of times an assistant camera will come up because, they're into it. They like camera work, and the camera operator's sick for the day or he can't come in. And so they're like, hey kid, you want to run the camera today? And he's like, yeah. Ooh, yeah. Like, am I ready? I'm ready. I'm ready. I can do this. So that's how a lot of assistant camera operators come up to be camera operators. DP, it's just putting time in as an operator, getting that opportunity. The one thing you can do is, and this sounds stupid and silly, but you can light dolls. You can take dolls or little, Mego dolls, Mega dolls, or whatever.
I prefer Barbies myself.
Barbies,
but no.
You literally can put those down and light them and move the light around them to see how different light looks. You can take a camera. I don't care if it's a still camera, your iPhone. You put it down in front of it, hit record, and then take as simple as a flashlight and just move it around to see what the different light does to that Ken doll's face or whatever it is. And really it's about viewing, looking at the world and seeing how different light affects different people's faces. And that's really all you can do. It's just about being aware of light and light. How do
you showcase, if you feel like you're good at it though and you want to get those gigs, how do you showcase your talent though? I mean, do you have to try and just search for footage and make a reel of things that you've shot?
Yeah.
Or is there that's the sword of the gladiator right there?
It really is, and getting those opportunities to shoot something that is quality enough to show to someone else, that's the hard part.
Okay, so then
that really is the hard part. I don't know. There's no one way to do it. Everybody's got a different story.
So I met a very popular producer, right, who had become a producer after a very successful acting career, actually. Successful monetarily. Some people, I think it's so stupid saying A-list, B-list, C-list, all that other stuff, because,
Well,
whatever.
the reality is, you can be shooting a feature film, a month ago, and then the next week you're going to be shooting HGTV like I did today, just before I came into work here. Not that I've shot a feature film, but I've shot on Jimmy Kimmel and a show called Double Dare, and everybody's like, "You shot Double Dare? That's amazing!" And then the next week I'm on an HGTV show, which is still pays about the same amount of money.
Yeah. So,
you're always going to fall back down, A tier, B tier. It doesn't matter.
yeah, all those, to me, it's all the
these
same.
tiers,
Yeah, it's like if you're
eventually-
working or you're not working,
There's
basically.
a lot of that. There's a lot of that, yeah.
But this guy had a very successful career as kind of actually like a character actor. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Some people hate that. Some people love it, whatever. But he then actually made all of his money because at a very young age, he was very frugal with his spending.
Yeah.
And he was very creative. He had a lot of very creative and talented friends. And he would start funding as the producer side projects instead of just, buying the Aston Martin the second he got his bonus. He'd actually put the money into productions until he started making the most amount of his money through producing, actually.
Smart man.
Yeah, very smart man. But he said something so interesting the other day. I asked him, I said, if you had to do it all over again, is there anything you would do differently? And he said, that's kind of a dangerous question. I never like answering those. But if I had to start over right now, he said, I would start driving Uber in Hollywood.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he literally said,
that's interesting.
Yeah, he said, if I had lost everything right now, and I needed to start over from scratch, or if I was a young, because, I always ask that same question. What would you do what would you say to a young actor? Or he'd written a very successful screenplay that they were producing, right? I said, what would you say to, the young and talented, like, come down and work at Universal Studios like I did as a tour guide for all the aspiring actors? Should you try and get on the blacklist like all of the aspiring writers do? Right. Should you try and get the AFI program like all the aspiring, or USC's program like all the aspiring producers do? And he said, no. He said, I wouldn't waste a dime or a minute on any of that crap. I would start driving Uber, and then I would have a copy, like 10 copies of my script in the passenger seat, and 10 copies on DVD if I had to, or on a thumb drive of whatever reel I had. And I would just be nice and kind and hardworking to every single person I met. Say, hey, what are you doing?
Yep.
If they're a teacher, just chat them up as a teacher and hope they give me a good review on Uber.
Yeah.
But if they're a producer, say, oh, that's awesome. That's totally what I want to get into. And then if they ask me, well, send me your stuff. Which is usually the nice thing to say, like, I don't want to hear from you.
Absolutely.
I would literally hand them a copy of the freaking...
Flop that down in their lap. There you go.
Yeah.
And they may open it. You don't know.
Yeah. So...
And it may be amazing.
So what would you say? Like that producer said, I would start driving Uber. What would you say to somebody who's ready to tear off their left arm in exchange for a director of photography career in Hollywood? There is some kid in Iowa that's going to be listening to this and say, I'm going to do this. What would you say?
I would say, you got to move to where the work is. I'm not a big proponent of going to school to do what we do. A lot of the big directors of photography for movies. I can't even say what I am. Good night.
Yeah, you're not going to go into
radio
anytime soon.
A lot of them didn't go to school. A lot of them didn't go to school. I'm not going to say names because I'll say one that probably did go to school, and then I'll get reamed out. But they wanted to do it. They started just shooting video for the local news station, or even for the local college. And they didn't go to college, but they would go and they would just shoot, and they would be aware of what's going on. And it's all about meeting people, which is why it's so genius to just go and be an Uber driver, because it is about who you know. And it's almost a game of numbers. The more people you know, the more people you talk to, the more often you're going to work. Wow. So I don't know if you go to school. There's a kid I know that kind of has talked to me about going to school, and I've kind of shunned him off of it. I've actually shunned my own kids off of it, because honestly, this is a terrible industry for families.
Really?
It is.
A lot of guys say that.
It is. It's hard. It's long hours. You don't know if you're going to work. You could be out of work for 2 weeks, 2 days, 3 months. You never know. And
not if you're good. Come on.
I mean, even if you are good, I know a guy who's a makeup artist. He's been an Oscar-nominated makeup artist, and there was a time he didn't work. Geez, I think it was almost a year and a half, 2 years, back in 2008, and then.
Oh yeah, but that's the crash of '08. There was tons of people that could say that, right?
I worked steady through 2008 the whole time, and he's an A-list. Even at that time, was an A-list makeup artist. So you never know how long you're going to go without work, which is just stressful. Money is stressful on marriages and families anyways. So I would say your best bet, and I'm not saying don't get married, your best bet though is when you are single, say yes to everything involved with production and go do it and be the best and be the happiest guy on set that everybody wants to have you around. And work toward, tell everybody what you want to do. If you want to be a director of photography, camera operator, producer, writer, tell everyone you know. Make sure they're aware of what you want to do, what direction you want to go. You want to live with purpose so that you go in the direction that you want to go. And it's all about being there. So in your single years, kids, go out, say yes, and go do all those things. Because what are you going to be doing? Playing video games? Give me a break. I mean, you can make money playing video games, but really, if you want, depends on what you want to do. You can make money making video games, or if you really want to make content and make TV shows, go do everything. Go shoot stuff with your friends, and find people that are doing it. There's plenty of people that are young that want to do.
So you've actually coached some of your own children away from film school and just say go straight into it, right? I gotta tell you,
I shouldn't say away from film school. I'm saying away from this industry.
Oh, away from the industry. That's
yeah,
funny.
Unless you really want to do it, you have a desire to do it.
No, it's got to be something where you're like, I want to do this. This is not something you do incidentally.
No.
It's just like becoming a Navy SEAL. You're not going to, whoopsie, I ended up being in the Special
I wish
Forces.
I had the abs of the
saying?
Navy SEAL, but man.
Yeah.
I don't.
You don't just accidentally become one. You have to have a fire in your belly that is unquenchable.
Yeah. With a Dr. Pepper.
Yeah.
Can we say that?
I don't know the reference to Dr. Pepper.
I like Dr. Pepper a lot.
That sounds like an awesome plug.
I like Dr. Pepper a lot.
Yeah. Well, we'll end on this. It's so interesting that you actually said you don't think film school is the way to do it, because I've always found this strange hypocrisy about film school is, especially if you grew up in a conservative family, you just always think that college is what you have to do, because that seems to be the route in so many other industries. Yet throughout human history, including our forefathers in film, everybody you study in film school didn't go to film school.
Yeah.
Charlie Chaplin, Buster Keaton,
Right.
George Lucas, your boy Sam Raimi, for heaven's sakes. I know you were mentioning before that you
yeah.
totally loved The Evil Dead and Sam Raimi.
I mean, Army of Darkness is my favorite movie ever. Army of Darkness is my favorite movie. It's the whole reason I even got into this business. I'm like, I want to make amazingly crappy horror genius movies like this.
Really? Well,
yeah.
I might be committing heresy here, but I have not seen Army of Darkness yet.
Well,
I know, but
you're missing out.
Because of you.
If this was my studio, I'd tell you to get out.
Yeah. Well, actually, that's the reason I watched Evil Dead 2 days ago, because it's been on my to-watch list
and amazing
for a decade. Okay, The Evil Dead has been on my watch list. But Sam Raimi did the most successful Spider-Man film. Right?
Oh, yeah.
I think
1 and 2 and 3, which that one got pushed on him.
Well, notoriously, I think it was up in Michigan or something like that.
Michigan.
He did like a semester of film school or a year of film school or something, and then bounced. And what I've really noticed is that, to me, it seems there's this strange kind of, I don't want to say hypocrisy, but kind of inconsistency, that there would all of a sudden be a requirement of college for something that was birthed without it.
And I don't think there is a requirement. I know there's a lot of like executive producers and things. I know a lot of them that like have gone to Harvard and Yale and things like that.
For like business
type
school.
schools.
Yeah.
Things like that. I can understand that. But, if you want to be in crew, if you want to do audio, if you want to do camera, even if you want to do special effects, there are ways to get there without college. But, I also know I know people that do animation that went up to, what's this Disney school up here in
Oh, you mean Cal Arts?
Cal Arts.
Yeah.
that went to Cal Arts, and now they're
To me,
directing
animation, because
animation.
there is that technical aspect.
So there's a time and a place for it.
Yeah, but you think for cinematography, it's just running, gunning, and then filming some more.
You're running and
Wash,
gunning,
rinse, repeat.
and all your big cinematographers, Deakins and all these guys. In general, they just went out and started shooting. A lot of them went out and they would shoot newsreels for the Army, and that was their job. They'd go
That was
out.
Frank Capra.
Yeah, they'd go out and they'd shoot newsreels for the Army, and that's how they learned the craft. So it doesn't, especially for cinematography, camera operator, that there's no requirement. It's all about it's an art, and art in general just comes, I guess, from your soul and from your knowledge and what you want to see on video.
All right, awesome. So unfortunately, I could talk with you for hours, my man, but we do have to leave here. Make sure if you guys can join us next week. Okay, we've been talking to Matt Ferguson, aka Fergie, camera operator, director of cinematography. We'll just say, visual painter of light extraordinaire, who's done all kinds of cool stuff, from Jimmy Kimmel, HGTV, blowing up cars in the middle of nowhere, to
Face Off. We did a show called Face Off on Sci-Fi Network, which was amazing.
Okay,
It's
yeah.
like 5 years, my best years of my life, shooting Face Off.
The whole 9 yards. And if you want to be anything like him, just apparently shoot as much as you can, is what he says.
With whatever you have.
With whatever you have. This is the Cardon Ellis Show. See you guys next week.